Golfers are always happy to spend big money on shafts, but are you using the right shafts or the wrong shafts for your golf game? Let's do it.
I want to be an introduction. Let's do it now.
Hi everyone, James Robinson here. Guys, first things first, it is another, what day is it, Wednesday?
Wednesday,
so it's another Walking Wednesday. It's a series that I've literally just come up with that off the top of my head, so I'm quite happy with that. Gaz, how are we?
I'm great, thanks, yeah.
Good, so
for it.
It's another day where we haven't missed much. A lot of people commented on that last week as well. They're doing some maintenance to that, so it hasn't fallen over.
All right.
But we haven't missed much. It's been really foggy all day, so one of the real, we're going to talk shafts by the way in a second, but one of the real things for me in this period we haven't played golf, we haven't missed that many days. It's been, you look at our video, the rules video, or sorry, the insurance video, covered in snow, then it was too wet, now we'll probably just be opening now because of the fog, so we haven't missed that much. But how are you coping, mate, before we get into it?
Do you know what, I'm really looking forward to the start of the season now. It's like, you know, you can smell it, can't you, basically?
You can, when they start cutting the grass and things like that, you really start to get a feel for it. How's the channel going?
Oh, really well. Like, as I say, you know, it's keeping me really busy, and you know, time's flying. It won't be long before we're playing again, and I've not felt it.
No, it won't. So if you haven't seen Gaz's channel, go over and check it out. It's Gary Martin Golf. I'll put a link in the description and in the tags. A lot of people don't know how to use the tags. So the tags are tagged, and you click on them. It's not that difficult. But today we're going to talk golf shafts. And I did a video a couple of days ago, or probably a week ago now, and it did really well in that people want to know, should you use a stiff shaft, a regular shaft? What is the difference in using a different flex shaft? But then you're more of a shaftoid, aren't you? You're more of a shaft person, you know.
Definitely, and I think this is a topic that, you know, it's crying out. We're crying out for it because a lot of people, you know, there's a lot more elements to a shaft than just flex.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we can sort of, you know, touch on today. You know, we don't need to get into massive depth about it, but I think just making you aware of different elements, and you know, rather than just thinking, right, I need a stiff or a regular shaft. There's a lot more to it than that, isn't there?
And especially in iron shafts, probably a little bit less. There's more. You can talk about the weight, you can talk about the tip flex, things like that. Then you get into the graphite world, you get into the driver shafts, and there's shaft torque, there's weight, there's length, there's all sorts of things, and we're going to dispel a few, or Gaz is going to dispel a few kind of myths in this video, so make sure you stay tuned, and also get any questions in the comments that Gaz can answer in a video on his channel, so we can kind of get a bit more in depth. But for me, one of the big things that I see is, and I'm going to kick the ball rolling, exotic shafts, expensive shafts that people really have no need in using, but because they're bright colours, because they're expensive, because it's an upcharge that maybe the mates don't have, all of a sudden people want to use them. And I've done a few videos in the past, and I did a video this morning with my old Titleist driver against the new one, and I hit a few shots with the exotic shaft in there, and it was no different. Like, no, for £300-400 upgrade, you'd expect to see a little bit more, but we've both been guilty of that in the past, haven't we?
We have, and I think that's probably, you know, a lack of understanding about shafts. You know, just thinking the more you spend, you know, the further the ball's going to go, and it don't quite work like that, does it?
Unfortunately, it doesn't, because if it did, we'd all be spending about 10 grand a gold-plated shaft and be driving this green down there.
But I guess that's what we're doing this for, because you guys might have been in the same position we were in 2 or 3 years ago, when we really just thought that buying an exotic shaft would solve all those problems.
Yeah. So Gaz, what's one of the big shaft tips that you're going to give people? Shaft tips, that's terrible. What's one of the big kind of clues that you give people in, say if they haven't managed to get to a fitting, but they're wanting to look at shafts online or things like that?
Well, I think, you know, let's start off with one of the features of a shaft, and that's length for a shaft. You know, how many people just use a standard length driver? Oh,
I bet 90% of...
90% use a standard length driver, and, you know, so you're trying to get these marginal gains, but then you're not getting a shaft length particularly to suit your style of golf. So, you know, what I mean by that, just to give a bit more of an insight, is that, you know, obviously the longer the shaft, but there's potential to hit more distance, but there's potential to go a lot further offline as well.
Yeah.
So the likes of sort of Tiger Woods, you know, I'm going to use him as an example. His shaft's, you know, approximately about 3 inches shorter than what you'd buy off the shelf.
Yeah.
And this is a tour pro we're talking about, someone who's exceptionally good at golf, but he uses a shorter shaft to get, you know, control.
And it's funny you should say that. This is a point where I can jump back in, because I've hit one of Tiger's drivers off the tour truck, and it is a lot shorter. Is it 40?
42 and a half,
42,
I think.
Yeah, 42 and a half. It was a sim driver. No, it was an M5 driver. And it felt so so much easier to control because of the length, obviously.
Did you actually feel that it was easier to it's straighter?
I mean, it's me we're talking about there, so it went left just like the rest of them, but probably not as far left. And another point there as well is when I got fitted, Titleists generally do this quite well. Titleists usually, not this year, but in previous years, have fitted me into shaft that's maybe 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch shorter than standard, because shaft length generally determines club head speed. And we also think that club head speed determines ball speed, but in realistic terms, to transfer that club head speed into ball speed, comment below if you're still with me, you have to hit the middle of the face.
Yeah.
You have to hit the middle of the face consistently and often. If you don't do that, it's easier to do it with a short shaft length, so you could see more ball speed with less club head speed effectively.
Yeah, definitely.
Have I lost you yet? I felt like I did really well there to get all that out in one.
But I think, you know, just highlighting the fact that, you know, just buying a standard length driver possibly isn't, you know, is it right for you?
Yeah.
You know, and consider
And
that.
that's irons as well. Irons,
Yeah,
Then you go into
exactly.
lie angles and everything else, and it's all I don't know why I'm walking in the rough. My feet are soaking. Can we walk in the fairway? But that comes down to every club in the bag, even the putter. How many people use 34, 35 inch putter when they've got no right in doing so? It should be something more fitted to them.
Yeah.
Who thinks of shafts in putters? Nobody.
I mean, I'll give you an example in my game. I ordered, obviously, you know, I've got the G410 driver.
Yeah.
And I'd been using a Titleist driver before that, and that were 1/2 inch shorter. You know, when I got the ping one sent to me, and I held it, I just felt like it was massive. It felt like, how am I going to control this?
Yeah.
So if you're that person that you're not that confident off the tee, you know, you'd be surprised how much 1/2 inch or an inch off the driver can actually give you that more control, you know, and feel like you've got control of, you know, the club in your hands.
Yeah, no, that does make a lot of sense in fairness. And then, I mean, we've spent a few minutes there talking about shaft length. We haven't even touched on yet shaft flex. We haven't talked on stiff shaft, extra stiff shaft, regular shaft, ladies flex shaft, senior shaft. It's all these things that, like my dad now happily uses, I don't think they call it a ladies flex shaft anymore. There might be a senior, they don't even call it a senior shaft, call it A
I'm
flex.
glad you've said that, actually, because it's quite misleading, because quite often a lady's shaft is not specifically for a lady, it's just actually to describe the weight and the
like
flex of it.
It's a lightweight shaft, isn't it, more than anything? He's using one of those with a high lofted drive. He's playing some of the best golf of his life. Well, he's not, but he's playing a lot better. He's getting it off the tee more often. And I think that's where manufacturers like, I mentioned Titleist again, Titleist seem to do the fitting really well.
Yeah.
That's where they've seen a gap in the market, gone TSI 1, 40 gram shaft, lightweight grip, shorter shaft, and away they go. People are enjoying the golf again. What would you say to people, Gaz, who are unsure about shaft flex? Can you go primarily off ball speed, or is it something that you want to go more into depth on?
I think, you know, there will be some static fitting advice there for you, you know, so, you know, you could just, for example, I'm going to give you an example. We'll go on let's say we go on Grafloy's website. So you just use a manufacturer's website or Diamana's website, and just have a look at the different flexes and what sort of club head speed it'd recommend to use that flex. And, you know, generally speaking, across the board, you'll find that all manufacturers are quite similar.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're trying to give you as much free advice as we can to help you choose the correct driver shaft yourself, because we understand that not everybody can get a fitting.
Yeah.
Not everybody can afford to go and buy a brand new shaft. So, but if you look at, you know, if you're on eBay or you're somewhere trying to find a shaft, if you look at the flex, you can quite often find on the manufacturer's website what speed you need for that flex.
Yeah. And another thing is there's no manufacturer standard for a stiff shaft or a regular shaft or an extra stiff shaft. So one manufacturer's stiff shaft might be another manufacturer's extra stiff or even regular. You don't know. So don't just go with the fact that I've always played a Ping stiff shaft. So now I'm going to go into the stock tailor-made stiff shaft. It could be totally different.
Well, the big point to that is as well is it's although they are, you know, slightly different, they are going to be slightly different. The big thing is where the kick is in the shaft, and that's going to be completely different, isn't it?
Okay.
And I think that's one of the big...
This is where you come into your own, by the way, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So, you know, every shaft, whether it's stiff, regular, or, you know, whatever flex it is, will have a kick point in the shaft, and you really do need to understand this, because this is what's going to help you launch the ball or keep the ball lower launching.
Yeah.
So just generally speaking, the higher the kick point, the lower the launch. And then the lower the kick point, the higher the lunge.
Yeah.
So that's something you've got to consider again. You know, if you're a second-hand driver on the market that you're interested in, just do that research on that shaft. Type in the brand and the model and see what kick point is and see if that matches up to your game.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's interesting because obviously where the kick point is will determine not only the dynamic loft that you present to the ball, which obviously affects the flight. I always have to do that when I say flight. I don't know why, but it determines the flight. It also the spin rates as well. So many people try and manipulate spin rates on the shots with a shaft.
Yeah.
How would they go about doing that? Is that where you start talking shaft weight?
Exactly, yeah. So weight is...
It's almost like we've planned this.
Yeah, no, so weight is like kind of fine-tuning the flex now. So you've got the flex, so we've gone for stiff, but you're not quite an extra stiff, so you could possibly go, instead of getting a 60 gram stiff, you might get a 70 gram stiff or an 80 gram stiff. So I kind of see the weight sort of fine-tuning the flex.
Yeah.
And also it reduces the spin. So obviously, if you've got somebody who creates a lot of backspin, you can go up in weight to knock the spin down, and vice versa. Somebody who's not getting enough spin, you can reduce the weight to create, you know, more spin on the ball. So weight is closely related to spin, and then fine-tuning the flex.
Yeah, all very interested. Or what you could do is, a good mate of mine actually, Big Al Etchers, just get the heaviest, stiffest, brightest colour shaft possible, stick that in, and then hope for the best. That's what
we've actually. I mean, a lot of us have done that in past, haven't we? You know, pink or a neon green shaft.
If Dalton watches this, Dalton's terrible for that. He used to get like a pink 90 gram triple extra stiff shaft, 47, 49 inch, whatever. You were saying actually earlier that long drive drivers 50-inch shafts.
Yeah. Because
you can generate the ball speed going back onto shaft length. But all they're trying to do is get 2 balls in a grid or something like that in 10 shots.
Yes.
You're not trying to hit a fairway, trying to get a score going. So whilst I'm all for people like Bryson pushing the boundaries of that, is a skill to do that? Can the everyday golfer hit the middle of that club and keep it on the planet while doing that?
My personal opinion is that the standard golf driver in golf is too long. And I'm going to be brave in saying that, because I think the manufacturers, and you know, they might turn around and think I'm a goon for saying this, but I think the manufacturers, all they're bothered about is their driver being the longest. So they're pushing them driver lengths high so that you, when you have your fitting, hit a long drive. Wow, I'm going to buy that. But in fact, it's probably not the most, because, you know, I think if you knocked an inch off that, you'd all be a lot straighter.
Yeah, you're grouping, not only a lateral grouping, but your lateral? Front to back and left to right. I forgot it's too cold to think about big words like that. Lateral, big word. But your groupings will be a lot consistent, a lot more closer together. That's going to result in lower scores. So it depends if you're wanting to impress your mates once every 2 weeks and hit that one that gets out there, or you're wanting to actually play better golf.
I'd love to see a company brave enough to offer a shorter driver length for standard.
I mean, so interesting you've said that. One of the best clubs I've reviewed ever, and the one I keep going back to for reviews, is the TaylorMade Mini Driver.
Yeah.
Smaller head, shorter shaft, 11 degrees. I can't miss with it, but I don't play with it because I don't have the opportunity to smash it out of the park.
Is there a video with this? Anyway. Have you ever done a comparison?
I've done a few. I've done like 5, mate.
What, with different shaft lengths?
Yeah, I'm happy to do another one, but...
Yeah, that'd be interesting, actually.
Get it over on your channel. It's a great club as well, the Mini Driver. What else do people need to know about shafts, guys? We've spoke weight, we've spoke length.
There is torque. I mean, torque fits quite closely to flex as well.
So for people who don't understand torsional stiffness, because there will be people out there, it's just the rotational stiffness of the shaft.
Twist. And there's a bit of a myth, or what can I say? There's something a bit... People always relate a lower torque to being straighter, so less twist they think is going to be straighter.
Yeah.
But the torque has to match with the flex of the shaft. If you've got a senior using a low torque shaft, it's not going to feel good, you know. So the torque is quite closely related to the flex of the shaft. You know, that's probably the high hanging fruit, as we would say. You know, the kind of thing that for the average club golfer, there's not as much need to worry about. You know, if you get the right flex, that'll tend to match up well to the flex.
So I think we've covered some really good points there, and one of the big things I want to leave you on, probably one of the most important points of this video, is if you are going to self-diagnose, self-fit, order some shafts off the internet, order clubs with certain shafts off the internet, be honest. Be honest in yourself. Be honest that your driver club head speed's 103 to 106, 106 to 109. Don't just go 120 because it makes you feel good in that moment, because all you're kidding is yourself. We've all been there, we've all done it. I'm not calling anyone out.
Me? I'm looking like, who's there?
We've all done it, we've all done it. So just be honest, and if you can, go and see your PGA Pro. If you're having lessons with anyone, they'll be able to talk to you a little bit about it as well. Obviously, if you can get for a fitting, do so.
Can I give a bit of key advice? I think if you're trying to search for that second-hand driver, you can't afford a new one, and you're trying to get the best one for your game, is just do a little bit of research on kick point and weight, all right, to match your game.
Yeah.
So we've already talked about it: high kick, low flight; low kick, high flight.
Yeah.
Or lunge, and then spin. So if you struggle to get spin on the ball, we want a lower weighted shaft, so 50-60 gram. Obviously, if you need to knock spin off the ball, you're very high spinning, can't control flight, then try a little bit heavier shaft.
And one of the things pros do is they pick windows to hit from. So you imagine this is a hole at Huddersfield, the 10th hole. Where do I want my ball flight to be? Do I want a window here, a window here, a window here? Where do I want that ball to go through? And then the shaft flex and the shaft torque and the shaft weight might help you with that. So all interesting points. But Gaz, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no.
Really appreciate your time. Guys, go check out Gaz's channel if you haven't done so already, and smash the subscribe button. But if you start slacking, then leave it.
I think I will do a bit of video on shaft length as well.
Yeah, definitely,
I think
mate,
a comparison between a standard shop shaft length, and we'll do Tiger Woods 42.5-inch length.
Perfect. Get your hacksaw out.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Leave us a like if you want us to talk more shafts. And apart from that, I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.